This is All About Bitcoin, a show dedicated to all things questions and markets related. Bitcoin, little b for the currency, and Bitcoin, big B for the network. A collective journey to understand, apply, and use this innovation, all Bitcoin, all the time. Let's have a live look at Bitcoin right now. The CoinDesk Bitcoin price XVX index is trading at $46,923. Bitcoin is up about 0.5%, while the traditional markets are seeing stocks, they're trading down. The most reliable reference prices for institutions since 2014 are now published under the CoinDesk brand, trusted globally as the leader in crypto news, events, and data. Let's look at some of the top stories moving markets right now. A U.S. Senate subcommittee led a balanced hearing on stablecoins, exploring their benefits and risks to the financial system. On the latter, here's Massachusetts Senator Elizabeth Warren.
Stablecoins have no regulators, no independent auditors, no guarantors, nothing. And they are propping up one of the shadiest parts of the crypto world, the place where consumers are least protected from getting scammed. Our regulators need to get serious about clamping down on these risks before it is too late.
Congress is holding a series of hearings on digital assets to draft potential crypto legislation in the future. Meanwhile, NYDIG raising a stunning $1 billion in a funding round that will value the firm at over $7 billion and potentially expand Bitcoin's reach into any industry, according to CEO Robert Gutman. The magnitude of the raise reflects NYDIG's move to become something of a hybrid in terms of Bitcoin infrastructure, straddling both the institutional trading realm and also looking ahead toward consumer uses. NYDIG telling CoinDesk that the firm's various partnerships, wallet integrations, and infrastructure can be linked to something like AWS in the traditional web space, hence the large amount of interest in the funding round.
The chart of the day is brought to you by Crypto.com, the world's fastest growing crypto app.
The Fear and Greed Index, a tool used by some investors to gauge the market, has now signaled extreme fear for almost 1 month straight, according to CoinDesk's Lila Ledesma. Bitcoin trading lower as the market prepares for this week's Federal Reserve Monetary Policy meeting, where the U.S. Central Bank is expected to slow down its money printer. The two-day meeting, which concludes Wednesday, is expected to end with the Fed announcing plans to cut the pace of its $120 billion a month of asset purchases by $30 billion every month, or double the current rate of reduction. Some cryptocurrency traders and investors say the stimulus program has bolstered Bitcoin's allure as an inflation hedge, so a reversal of the loose money policy might be bearish. Bitcoin is down over 30% from its all-time high in November. Stack funds attributing BTC's recent drop to market uncertainty, leading investors to take risk off the table. Joining me now to discuss the crypto markets is Marcelo Sampaio, CEO and co-founder at Hashdex, a top crypto asset manager in Latin America. Hello there, Marcelo. So great to have you on the show. So taking a look at Bitcoin right now, would love to hear some of your outlook on where you think the trajectory for Bitcoin is.
Well, I think we're in a great moment. Honestly, we should not look at the price just as it is right now, but actually, where we're coming from. Bitcoin has been growing a lot. Adoption has been growing, awareness has been growing. We have more and more people wanting to invest in Bitcoin. So I think the outlook is great. I mean, there's everything to happen still. So amazing times.
I'd like to hear about your perspective on Bitcoin and Latin America. How do you see it being used in the continent?
Yeah, so you have to have this notion that in Latin America, we have very different economies than the one you guys have in the US, right? So instability, makes Bitcoin or an investment like Bitcoin so much more important than probably in other locations or in the developed world. So we have been seeing Bitcoin being massively adopted by investors across Latin America, being more and more present in portfolios, exactly for, these reasons, right? So Bitcoin has been a tremendous success, as we can see at Hashdex, right? We have been, with our ETFs, been serving now more than 1/3 of all ETF investors in Brazil, as an example. So it's pretty successful. It's growing a lot.
So one of the criticisms in the latest stablecoin hearing in Congress was that Bitcoin cryptocurrencies weren't really being used as payments to pay for goods and services, say like bread and milk every day. It's being used for speculation, using for, greater leverage, propping up markets. I wonder your response to that.
Generally, I think there is this anticipation or almost this misinterpretation. Look, in crypto in general, not only in Bitcoin, like we're going through what we call this infrastructure phase, right? I mean, now you have seen the car, right? You need to build the roads, like build gas stations, all these things. And Bitcoin and crypto in general, the first action that you can actually take is actually investing, right? One day this Web3 world, and crypto, will come into our lives, that you're going to use in every day in very different manners. But the first thing we can ever do with crypto is investing. So I think honestly, try to accuse crypto or Bitcoin of that pure speculation, I think is not really, telling the whole story, right? So yeah.
Mm-hmm. I see that your firm has crossed 1 billion in assets under management. I wonder if you could tell me about, which countries are most active in investing in Latin America.
Yeah, definitely Brazil, I think, is the largest one, is the largest market. So it's where, we basically became the largest player, and we became the largest player after Latin America. But honestly, this is only the beginning for us. We at Hashdex, we started in America. We decided to go back to Latin America because, believe it or not, the regulatory framework was better in that region than in America, right? So we said to ourselves, let's go there. We let's create some, pretty much try to prove our thesis in a market that is more welcoming. And whenever we see the U.S. market opening, and especially in the ETF side of things, we'll go back hopefully with a proven thesis, and more experience and more size. And that's exactly what is happening right now. We're super excited in be landing in U.S. at this point in time, and to take our products, which by now have been honestly the leaders in the industry, cost-wise, with fair fees, governance-wise, and so on. We're super excited to be in America now.
I see a recent report that the Brazil Stock Exchange B3 is planning to enter the crypto market in 2022. And I know you partnered with the Nasdaq, but is that part of the overall mass adoption we're seeing in Latin America?
Yeah, we see this as a great thing. This is basically another validation, of a big guy, like the stock exchange, in Brazil, the largest stock exchange in Latin America and one of the most valued in the world, getting into crypto. I think that tells a lot. That kind of validates, that the market wants to invest in crypto, wants to have access or high-end access to crypto, and is another great way for investors to access it. Honestly, I don't think, it competes directly with the idea of crypto ETFs. And that's because, it is very different if you want to buy crypto to use it or if you want to buy crypto to invest, right? So for invest long term, especially in ETFs, having really great players giving you security, governance regulation that's a big value add. So it's another option. We see this as a great thing.
Finally, Marcelo, do you have any price predictions for 2022?
Very hard to say this, I have no price predictions because that will be playing pretty much with futurism, and that's very hard. But what I can tell you is this: it is pointed to 2022, that institutions, will keep investing, and more will investing, and that should create could create, a pressure, in pricing in the best sense of the word, we see that adoption will keep growing, and that could potentially put some pressure to price appreciation. But I just know that we don't know. It's very hard to predict the price of Bitcoin. Everyone trying generally fail.
All right, Marcelo. Well, congratulations on that 1 billion AUM. Thanks for coming on the show and offering your insights. That was Hashdex CEO Marcelo Sampaio. Coming up, BTC price analysis we'll continue on talking about our top stories up next with Bitwage.
Hey there, it's Zach Seward, co-host of The Hash and Deputy Global News Editor at CoinDesk. You're watching CoinDesk TV.
Welcome back. Tesla will make some merchandise buyable with Doge, according to CEO Elon Musk. In an interview with Time, which named Musk Person of the Year, Musk saying that Bitcoin isn't a good substitute for transactional currency. Rather, Dogecoin is better suited for transactions. The Tesla and SpaceX CEO was also named one of CoinDesk's most influential 2021. Joining us now to discuss is Jonathan Chester, CEO of Bitwage, a payroll processor using Bitcoin's layer 2 scaling solution, the Lightning Network. Hello there, Jonathan. Thanks for joining us. So Elon doesn't think Bitcoin is good for payments. He'd rather use Doge and have Tesla accept payments on merchandise using Dogecoin. What would your advice to Elon be?
Sure. Thanks for having me here. I guess my advice for Elon is that he has to start experimenting with the Lightning Network, right? This is one of the fastest, easiest, and cheapest ways to send money on the internet with the hardest form of money that we've ever seen today. Of course, I guess Dogecoin can be fun for the memes, but if you're talking about actually getting access to people who are using Bitcoin as a store of value globally and allowing them to purchase Teslas, you got to use the Lightning Network.
All right. So Bitwage offers folks the ability to receive their wages in Bitcoin through Lightning. Can you give us some examples of who's using this?
Sure. Yeah. Just to take a step back, we enable all different kinds of Bitcoin payroll. We've been around since 2014. We have a direct deposit product where employees can sign up and get paid. And we have literally employees from every demographic, such as people working at the IRS, in the U.S. Veteran Affairs, but also software developers, architects, people working in education, all different kinds of people, any kind of demographic that you can think about are getting paid. But we also have a B2B service that allows companies to also receive their invoices in Bitcoin, but also pay their employees in Bitcoin. And what we just announced last week was the first ever salaries paid on the Lightning Network. We did one of the largest transactions ever in a single transaction through the Lightning Network Hive mind, which is essentially where the main net is, where all the merchants are connected. So we did over $1,300 in a paycheck to the CEO of a Pan-African Bitcoin startup called BitNob. And that CEO was then able to instantly spend over $1,300 worth of Bitcoin on the Lightning Network into the entire Lightning Network.
All right. So again, give me a sense of, who is receiving their wages in Bitcoin and what countries are you dealing with and what kind of companies?
Sure. Yeah. So in Latin America, we've seen spectacular growth in some of our key markets. We actually grew over 20x since the beginning of COVID. In the United States, we also see a large customer base. I think we grew almost 3 times as much since the beginning of COVID. I use the beginning of COVID as a benchmark because we've been around since 2014. But what COVID did is it acted as a catalyst for both Bitcoin and the remote work movements, which has accelerated the need for HR organizations to implement Bitcoin payroll. And that's why we've been seeing big growth as a result since then. In terms of who's doing this, we see athletes, we see musicians, we see everyday people, mom and pop shops. The main kinds of companies that use us are actually below 200 employees, a lot of 10 to 20 employee people. And a lot of them work in services industry. They're not necessarily tech startups, so we see a lot of those in crypto companies. But we also see a lot of organizations like marketers, like accounting firms, law firms, financial firms, customer service organizations, software development firms that are coming on and using us.
That's interesting. And you mentioned Latin America, where, there's a country like Venezuela that sees high inflation. So an alternative currency might be helpful for them. But I wonder, how does it address Bitcoin's volatility? People who are underbanked can't afford volatility. So how do you address that?
Yeah. So the thing is that what often happens when you look at the price of Bitcoin in these other countries is that the price of Bitcoin often tends to be higher, normalized to the dollar compared to actually purchasing in the United States. So a lot of people are actually getting an arbitrage. So when they get paid from, let's say, a U.S. employer, and then it's paying to this Argentine or Brazilian freelancer, what's happening is that they're actually getting access to cheaper Bitcoin. And then when they have the Bitcoin in their wallets, whatever wallet that might be, they can sell it. Maybe they'll get 5% more, 10% more of their salary, or they'll keep it because their local currency is losing 10%, 20%, 50% every year.
Interesting. All right, Jonathan, thanks for joining us. I know you got a flight to catch, so we'll let you go. But thanks for joining us. That was Bitwage CEO Jonathan Chester. All right, that's it for All About Bitcoin. I'm your host, Christine Lee, and we'll do it all over again tomorrow at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. Also join us tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. in New York for First Mover. You're watching CoinDesk TV.